Section 5 of From Ball to Lillis, a complete record by Johnny Maynell, Living on Borrowed Time, 1987 to 1993. Season 1987-88, Barclays Division 4 finishing 18th, Littlewoods Cup first round, FA Cup third round. With Calderdale Council holding 76% of the club's shares and creditors accepting 18 pence in the pound, Halifax Town went into the new season with a clean slate, but their problems were not quite over. The council also brought back the lease on the share, paying former chairman Sam Rock £13,000 as he had money tied up in the lease, then, so to speak, kicked Halifax Town out, giving them use of it only on match days. While all other administrative affairs were conducted at the new headquarters of the old Crossleans Rugby Union Club, this meant the players could no longer train on the sheer pitch, nor did they have exclusive rights to the stadium's treatment facilities. Groundsman Northern Southernwood was also dismissed, but this backfired when the pitch, for so long immaculate, deteriorated so badly that for the most of the season it had to be covered in sand. The council had saved the club, but were not helping the team, nor were they cooperative when the club put forward names for the composition of the new board of directors. Along with John Madeley, former player Dave Worthington, Chris Calvert, Martin Chippendale and George Watson met councillors on the 18th of August. Talks came to nothing. Madeley with his associates resigned from Halifax Town, leaving the caretaker board that had been running the club with just two members, Rod Thomas and Jack Hamer. Billy Eyre felt that the most recent upheaval was deterring players from coming to the club. Having released Gary Nicholson, Paul Sanderson, Craig Farnaby and Barry Diamond, he succeeded in signing midfielder Stuart Ferraby from York and Neil Matthews, who had been on loan at the Shaymen 1986 from Grimsby. But Eyre was dealt a body blow when fan favourite David Longhurst moved to Northampton for £40,000. Alan Nill went to Swansea for £15,000 after saying that Halifax Town lacked ambition. For the first time, the Football League allowed the use of two substitutes, and in their opening league game, Town put theirs to good use. Town played out a 2-2 draw with relegated Darlington at the Shea. Matthews' appearance in that game, however, would cost the club dearly. Though signed a month before the season began, his forms were not sent to the Football League headquarters in time, and for fielding an ineligible player, Town were fined £500 in November and deducted 1 point. And although Halifax bowed out over 2 legs to York in the Littlewoods Cup, victories at Wolves, who were also in the 4th Division at that time, and at home to Newport and Swansea, kept them up with the front runners. When Phil Brown's header gave them a 2-1 win over Tranmere, Town moved into 4th, just 1 point behind the leaders. While home form continued to be impressive, away form was less so, and the Shaymen's challenge faltered. Through September and October, Town lost 5 out of 6 matches on their travels, and there was the fear that they might carry on this form into the FA Cup, where they were drawn away at non-league Billingham Symphonia. In the week preceding that match, Town lost their unbeaten home record to Colchester and left-back Frankie Harrison with a broken leg. Centre-back Mick Galloway moved to the Scottish Premier League outfit Hearts for £60,000. The money was welcome but did not make Halifax Town flush. Half of the fee went to Mansfield as part of their sell-on clause. With 2 of their best players, the Shaymen travelled to meet Billingham, the tie having been switched to Hartlepool's Victoria ground. When Billingham led 2-1, Town looked to be out on the receiving end of yet another cup shock, but they rallied late on to turn the game round and win 4-2. In the second round, Town were given a tricky tie at 3rd Division Grimsby Town, who they had already lost to in the Freight Rover Trophy, but held out for a goalless draw. The replay, Town won 2-0 and moved into the 3rd round for the first time since 1979-80. They would face 1st Division giants Nottingham Forest. By then, having taken Sunderland defender Mick Heathcote on loan, Town were enjoying an unbeaten run of 4 games, so there was a potential for another giant-killing act in the mould of Manchester City. But Forest were no mugs. Brian Clough brought his players up to look at the pitch, commented that he wished he had brought his bucket and spade, then watched his team stroll, if that is the right term on such a sandy surface, to a 4-0 win. The Shaymen never got a look in. Following that defeat, Town blew hot and cold. One week they lost to bottom side Newport, the next to beat tabletoppers Wolves. But though they were not making any noises in the league, interest was growing in the Freight Rover Trophy, which had changed its name to the Sherpa Van in mid-season. The Evening Courier dubbed it the Wembley Dream. Having finished top of a qualifying group that contained Grimsby and Scunthorpe, Town beat Chesterfield 2-1 at the Shea, then Darlington by the same scoreline at Feethams, moving into the Northern Area semi-finals. They were paired with Burnley. In a never-to-be-forgotten encounter, Town drew 0-0 after extra time before losing 3-5 on penalties. Making his Town debut in that game was striker Peter Duffield, on loan from Sheffield United. He would remain at the club until the end of the season and score some valuable goals, but one player on his way out was winger Rick Holden. There had never been any doubt that he would better himself, and when First Division Watford came in with a £150,000 offer, Town could not refuse it. Holden completed his transfer on the 23rd of March. Yet another of Town's star players gone and league form on the wane. Town only won 3 of their last 15 matches. Crowds began to dwindle. Only 866 were present for the visit of Hartlepool, the lowest in the league that season. The previous summer, the council had reckoned that Halifax Town would lose around £85,000 over the course of the season, but for the sales of Longhurst, Galloway, Nill and Holden, they surely would have. The Did You Know for this chapter? Workington's first Football League game was against Town in 1951. In 1977, Workington were replaced by Wimbledon, whose first opponents were Town.